Hi friends, welcome back. So, do we have to worry about World War III, and how are the markets reacting to the current crisis that we're in? That's the subject of today's video, and this is an actual headline from CNBC just a few hours ago. Prelude to World War III, world leaders react to Iran's air attack against Israel, and this is on April 15th, 2024. Let's hope not. Essentially what's going on right now, if you guys have been following the story and following the channel the last couple of days, Israel strikes and kills 7 Iranian people. 2 of them were generals. Iran vows to hit back, and they do. They send a bunch of drones to Israel, and then Israel's got that dome thing to protect themselves. They also have the U.S. and the U.K. They launch jets, and they're shooting down these things. And I believe Jordan did also. Now the question is Israel going to respond to the attack that Iran just did? And the cycle keeps going, right? You hit me, I hit you, you kill my brother, I kill your brother, you kill my aunt, I kill your aunt, this kind of stuff. And so this is not just a one-time thing. This is something that's been going on for years, so it's not an easy fix, unfortunately. The other thing, too, that's going on is this is a quote from Israel. It says, missiles into the territory of the state of Israel will be met with a response. And that's coming from the Israel Defense Force Chief of Staff Herzi Halevi. And I guess he is talking to troops at a base in front of a fighter jet. So, basically Raider, saber rattling, I would say. It's just not a good situation. We track oil prices of this stuff. I'm sure you guys know oil is a big part of one of the reasons why the USA is involved with this kind of conflict. That and religion. So we have 2 big things. I prefer not getting into wars over any of this kind of stuff. That's just my opinion on these things. I take this stuff very seriously. And also, too, I remind you guys, whenever we look at these things and understand, yes, these are the leaders in the situation rooms and, talking about I'm bigger than you and I'm going to hit harder than you, that kind of stuff. But there are just families on the ground that, just want to live out their lives in peace, right? And I think that's just the average person out there. So I hope, and this goes for all sides, I hope we can come to a solution. Also, too, I always state very clearly, I think in these kind of situations, there's no good actors here. So I don't be like, hey, you got to choose this side, you got to choose that side. I just want everyone to stop fighting. I don't know, that's not a crazy thing to say, but I also live in the world of reality and know that these things escalate. Again, it's you hit me, I hit you back, this kind of stuff. I actually write about these kind of things in my book and how to get over it and hopefully beyond. Because I want you to know there is a tomorrow. My book is called Positive Angle, and the reason why I'm bringing it up is, if you guys don't know, I was born on a military base, an air base, during the Vietnam War at the end, and my parents were fighting in the war, and I actually lost my family. So it's a long story. I'm 49, if you may or may not know, and I write about it in my book, and ultimately it's all about staying positive. So check it out. I know the news can be negative all the time, but this is how I get up and smile every day. I'm happy to be alive and happy to spend time with you guys. Looking at the markets, you can see here, Microsoft was down, Apple, Nvidia, Google, Meta, right, down. Boy, I didn't realize this. Salesforce had a terrible day, down 7%. Tesla down big. I made videos on that. The only green here, I can see some Intel was up. Some of the finance stuff, so I think Goldman Sachs had their earnings today. And we'll take a look at some more details here. Looks like all the major indices were down. Gold is up, however, so the gold bumpers, at least this day, have it right. I'm not into the gold stuff, but I get it. It is something that some people go into. Bond yields are up, and this is actually a complicated story. It looks like we're having a sell-off in all equities here. Also, too, I think there might be a problem with the U.S. trying to, issue debt. Essentially, right, we got to fund these things. We got to fund the U.S. Deficit. We got to fund U.S. wars, etc. And people are like, well, you better give me better yields. And so yields are going up. We got 4.93 on the 2-year, 4.61 on the 10-year. We'll see if these hit 5%. Keep an eye on that. Also, too, we looked at this before, or actually this is more sort of digging into the equities. So let's see, small cap was down. Actually, micro cap was down the most, then NASDAQ as well. S&P going below 5,100. And if you want to take a look at the sectors, the big losers are tech and real estate. Healthcare was down a bit as well, but overall, all the sectors were red. You take a look at commodities. So I mentioned this guys before on the channel, so we talked about gold before, but actually silver is having a good month, up 16%. And then you're looking at the food stuff as well, up 10%, and that's up more than energy. If you want to talk about inflation, if food and energy spike, which, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they do, given the current situation. So who knows, right? So at the moment, I guess, I don't know, stalemate's the right word, but we'll just say we're not fighting exactly at the moment. We're just hoping we don't fight more. Yeah, but we'll see. And also to the summer months, energy goes up usually just a seasonal thing, right? And then you got winter after that. So that's what to look forward to. I think inflation is going to be tough to bring down myself. We talked about this stuff before. The dollar has been spiking. The article, I read it, I didn't pull up the headline here, but it was something like the dollar to the yen, like the Japanese yen's the lowest since like the 90s. And it's like 1990, like a long time ago. And I actually always tell you as well. So I mentioned before in channel, let's mention again. So I came to Korea back here when the dollar was strong, like during the great financial crisis, like here. We actually came to Korea again around this period, and now we're spiking again, meaning that the one I watch is like, is the dollar going to be above 1,400 compared to the Korean won? And we're right there again. So usually, like, at least according to history, because who knows, beyond this, usually like this is a big resistance, meaning that to start buying that won, that's bottomed out. But we'll see. I live here in Korea, so obviously that's for us, that's what we're watching. But depends on which currency you're in, depending on where you are. But again, it's U.S. dollar is strong against other major currencies. This is actually a big deal as well, because when the USA is talking about trying to issue debt to fund everything, are the Chinese going to essentially buy our debt? And why am I bringing up China? Because China's trying to do the same thing. They're having deficit problems over there as well. There's just not enough money in the world right now. I was looking at this. So this is just come out a few hours ago. China's capital markets activity falls to multi-decade lows. So how you read this thing? So this is basically how is fundraising going on in China? So it's like peaking out around here, and we're in 2024, so we're definitely not at the top anymore. And this is also, again, 2024 compared to other years. So the money's not there. And this is something that we've talked about several times. If you pump your system, do a whole bunch of printing, etc., and then people get really aggressive in their hiring, people get really aggressive in their building, these kind of things that showed up in the Chinese real estate market. Eventually someone's got to pay someone, right? Eventually. And Joe doesn't pay Bob, and Bob doesn't pay Steve, and Steve doesn't pay Sally, and then Sally doesn't pay Jill, and suddenly Jill's like, where's my money? And then you get this domino effect going on here. Moreover, there's also really interesting stories as well where people sort of figure out ways to cut corners to game the system that we're currently in. This will not make headlines. I saw this today. I mean, I see here, but it's not like the biggest headline today, but it is something I want to point out, sort of like how this world works during these kind of times. So here's a headline here. It says, Russia and China trade new copper disguised as scrap to skirt taxes and sanctions. This is just 6 hours ago, April 16th. And that is my local time, so it might still be the 15th where I'm in Korea. And basically, I read this thing, and it says here, so like, okay, Russia's export duty on copper rod was 7%. And then scrap is like 10%. Imports of copper rod into China are taxed at 4%. There's no duty on Russian scrap. So what it is this is your rods, like this, like copper. And I don't talk about copper that much, and I don't claim to be a copper expert, but this is like your rods. And what I gather, I guess they're twisting it or shredding it up to more look like this, because the idea is that if you are moving, copper around, this one here is taxed differently than one right here. So that's sort of how you game the system, and this is part of what happens in the world. So I thought that was kind of an interesting one. And also copper has been going up as well with the Chinese wanting to build more electric vehicles and such. So copper is a valuable commodity, but when you see commodities spiking and we got energy, we're watching here and now, we're watching food, it's going to be hard to bring inflation down. Moreover, this is something that is on the table, perhaps. This is according to UBS. Fed hiking rates to 6.5% is a, quote, real risk. This is something that we've talked about before, a lot in the channel. What's the Fed up to, etc. So they got to fight inflation. They want to get inflation down to 2%. They keep saying like higher for longer, and then like Wall Street's like, oh, well, you're gonna give me 6 cuts because you're gonna be awesome, and let's pump the markets again. The Fed then projects like, oh, well, okay, we'll project, not say anything, just kind of project, just throw that data out there. Oh, maybe we'll cut 3 times, but then in reality they start saying, wow, we're just gonna look at data. Well, maybe just 1 time, and this is an interesting one because this is at least the first that I've seen. The major bank come out and say, hey, maybe they should raise. And we've talked about it as well. There was one Fed official, I want to say it was like a couple days ago, that mentioned the whole raising thing. We'll see. Now, you refer to this, the situation that we could be in, this is UBS here, saying we could call this a no landing scenario. It says here, it is called a no landing scenario of more rate hikes would prompt a sharp flattening of the U.S. Treasury curve is a benchmark yields move meaningfully higher, as well as 10 to 50% slide in equities. So we'll see. Right. So this everything's got the markets on edge, right? Market doesn't like uncertainty. So you got possibility of, war, right? Greater war, World War III, as we just talked about that. Would the Fed actually raise rates? Right? If they don't, then we get inflation just running out of control. Is that a possibility? There's not really any good solutions here. And, let's say when China needs money or USA needs money, who are you going to borrow money from if they're both need money, right? And these are the two biggest economies. So they got that. It's a lot, I know. And you got these crazy scams going on in the market and in YouTube, et cetera, right? All these things happen at the same time, and it's no coincidence. So this is the latest scam today. I don't talk about this stuff all day, every day, but you got to bring it up. The Trump media thing. So down 18%, I guess, but they said they're going to issue more shares. So essentially they're going to print shares out of thin air and dilute you. And basically, if you're holding this thing, you're screwed. I'm just telling you real, guys. And I know some people get all upset and stuff when you bring up, anything with Trump, but I mean, I just look at numbers. So this is where it was. There was certainly a spike there. I can see that. And it spiked up again. And now we're going down that way. So, you can decide. I'm just looking at numbers, guys. I know. I laugh at this stuff because some people get so emotional with this stuff. But yeah, this is what it is. And if you're in this thing, you should know it was a trade. And hey, you can make money on a trade, but just know what game you're playing. And this is the reality. This guy may end up needing a whole bunch of money. I guess his trial started today is a criminal one, 34 felony charges. I'm not going to spend all this time going through this stuff. I'll just put it here. If you want to pause it, you can. It's the whole Stormy Daniels thing and all kinds of stuff. So I don't want to dig into that. But I will say, though, going back to the whole World War III stuff, when I was a kid, and I just kind of want to talk about like how could this stuff possibly play out. There was a movie that they ran. It was a Hollywood movie called Red Dawn, and this was actually a really well-known movie. They used a lot of big stars. If you're old enough remember this, it's like Patrick Swayze, Leah Thompson, Charlie Sheen, Jennifer Grey. I don't know who the other people are, but I know those four for sure. Those were really big stars. So that'd be these four people here. I don't remember this person here, but other people might remember. And essentially, they're pumping the fear of Russia is going to invade. I think it was Iowa. Like, that makes any sense. Like the Russians are going to parachute in Iowa. Yeah, right. And I laugh about this kind of stuff because if you live through that stuff and remember, like people used to actually be afraid of this stuff. And then we lived through it and it's like ended up just not being anything. Now, that doesn't mean that there weren't risks. That doesn't mean that, there wasn't any kind of wars around the world because there are and there's fighting. But always, take it with a grain of salt and measure that. I'll just say flat out, the Russians aren't going to come and, parachute into Iowa. I think you're okay. You're okay, guys. You're okay. But, people do fear about these things. And, we watch this stuff for entertainment, and where's the world going to end? Is it going to be with zombies, like your Walking Dead kind of stuff? I think the larger chance would be theoretically the Purge would have a greater chance. If you're looking at, these are kind of a little bit older. If you're looking at newer stuff, we just started watching Fallout. It's a pretty good show, actually. We only watched one episode yet, so I haven't finished it, but it's a pretty good show. And then actually this movie just opened up called Civil War. This is probably going to be really good. I haven't seen it yet. It literally just opened. And my understanding of the war or the concept of the movie is like it has to do with misinformation in social media and how people can go over fights over lies. I haven't seen it, but that's the basic concept of it. And even though these kind of things will get headlines and stuff like that, I actually think this movie is a really important movie because it relates to the other ones. This is called American Fiction. I highly recommend it, and it kind of has to do with media and people's expectations and like. I'll just leave it at that. I'll just leave it. It has to do with media and expectations. I'll keep it that simple. It's called American Fiction, and I really, really recommend it. The reason why I sort of talk about other things is like when people say, "Hey, Chris, why aren't you down? Why are you smiling every day?" Because I don't stress out about markets all day, every day. I cover it and I follow it intently, and I make videos on my channel, but I'm not stressed out about this stuff. I think it's important to be informed. Also, too important to not how can I say overextend yourself to where like all of your money's in the market all of the time, and you're literally watching your net worth like go up and down 10% every day. My personal opinion on this stuff is sleeping well at night is worth a lot of money. That's my opinion on that stuff. So I don't try to overexpose myself, and so that I'm okay. And also too, if you guys want to see kind of what we do every day, we just started a new channel called Chris and Yeji. And I'm moving our vlogs over there, and we'll start posting vlogs on there instead of the main channel. I know some of you watch our vlog stuff, and we try to put this out. It's fun, And I'll just tell you this as a hint. If you're married and you want to keep the wife happy, don't be giving her doom and gloom all the time. Just go out to dinner and forget about this kind of stuff, right? And we talk about these and stuff like that, but don't be stressing out about stuff all day, every day. And like I said, I think the people who are overexposed or made a bunch of how can I say, really bad bets, and unfortunately are now having to deal with the reality of what's happening in markets. So anyway, that's what's going on. I appreciate everyone's time, and I'll catch you next video.